Okay, good. Now we're good. So let me share my screen real quick. Okay. So are you able to see my screen right now? Right? Yes. Now.
Yes.
Do you see my screen? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So today. And once again, guys, fortunately I'm not able to see the chat right now. So if you have any questions, just unmute yourself and ask your question right away. Otherwise, I don't see your messages in chat because right now I'm sharing my screen. So if you have questions, just unmute and ask the question right away. Does this sound good to you? Okay. I hope it does. So today, we are going to talk about the variables, some data types, and the functions. And after this class, I will give you some homework so that you can complete it and practice the knowledge that you get today during today's lecture. So let's start. This is a website. This is actually which I shared in the Slack. Once again, if someone missed this part, I just copy this link and drop it in our Slack channel over here. So feel free, just simply clicking on this link, feel free. There are no viruses over there. This link is safe to click. So here on this website, it's very easy to practice JavaScript. Why don't we use the CodePen? Because to be honest with you, using CodePen for practicing JavaScript, it's a little bit hard, to be honest with you. But just for presentation purposes, I believe JSBean is a perfect tool. And here we can practice JavaScript and you will see how it works. So before we get to this point, I want everybody to click on this check mark, on this close button. Just close it because we need it. And I believe right now it's barely visible for you. So that's why I'm going to zoom in my screen a little bit. Is it visible for you guys or not?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
better.
good.
Okay, cool. Now that's good. So now make sure if by default there will be some tabs enabled over here on this central panel, if we can say so. So we only may need 2 tabs from this list. So you can, if it's enabled, for example, right now HTML is enabled, so you can click on it and thus you will disable it. Then feel free to click on CSS as well because we don't need CSS today as well. So feel free to click on it. And the last thing that we want to disable is output. So we don't need output. So basically, I want you to focus only on 2 tabs. The first one is JavaScript and the second one is console. So in the left side window, we are going to put our code, the JavaScript statements or the code. On the right part, on this side, on this part, we will be seeing the result of our code. For example, we will do something on the left part, and as a result, will be displayed on the right side of the screen. So if you ask me, what is this console? Console, this is actually this tool or this specific part, which actually every browser has. It actually helps more developers rather than users to understand how the code works, and if there are any mistakes in their developer's code, it's very easy to find those mistakes using the console. So if we're talking about the Google, right? Right now, for example, we can go to the Google, and for example, you can right click here and then click on the inspect button over here. And once you click on it, you will see this code and you will see console log over here. So this is something that we will be doing mostly on our main course, but as for right now, let's not focus on this one. So console log basically for us will help us to display the result. So we put something on the left screen, we run our code, and the result will be displayed on the right side window. This is actually what we are going to do. So let's talk about the basics. What is actually JavaScript? JavaScript, when it was first invented, it was for the web browsers, so people used HTML and CSS. Then they decided to bring dynamic to their websites. If you attended our last lecture, I believe I posted 3 images over there with houses, and to make those, actually, let me, I see, no, I don't have it anymore, unfortunately. So we're actually, before the JavaScript, all the websites were kind of static. You couldn't really interact with those websites, and JavaScript, JavaScript, you can do some sort of the actions. You can put something in your cart. You can look for something. You can basically any action associated, which is actually associated on your, or which are you doing on the website is associated with the JavaScript. So today we are going to talk about the JavaScript. JavaScript is a web language. It's a dynamical language. It has a lot of the features. It's easy to understand and easy to begin with. For example, just like at Python, if you compare the JavaScript to JavaScript is way easy to understand than the Java. I believe so, at least for the beginners. So today, let's talk about the basics. As I mentioned today, we are going to talk about the 3 topics, which is variables, data types, and functions. So let's get started. Whenever or once, the very first topic that we are going to talk about is variables. So here in the left side window, where actually you see the JavaScript, I cannot simply type the word variables. So basically today's topic. So it marks as an error. So the left side window is a window which contains our code. And if I want to put some, let's say, textual data, which will be omitted during the execution, or basically I want my JavaScript, or in this case, the browser, ignore the part where I have the word variables, or actually I can put whatever I want here, right? The numbers, maybe whatever. It doesn't matter. But if I want to disable this part, so I don't want my JavaScript, let's say, and not to, I want my JavaScript to ignore this part. All I want to do is just to put 2 slashes before it, what it does. So the 2 slashes before the statement or before the code will disable your code. So it basically command this current code, and this part won't be executed. Good. So basically there are 2 ways on how you can command something. The first way, you can just simply put 2 slashes, and another way, you put slash and then asterisk sign, and then you just keep typing something, and once you finish with commenting something, you put another asterisk sign and the slash, and you're good to go. But for right now, we are going to use 2 slashes. Okay. Questions so far? No? Good. So the very first step, topic that I want to talk about will be variables. What are the variables? So just like, let's say, just like a wardrobe, for, let's say that everybody has their own clothes at home, right? The dresses, shoes, jackets, jeans, and etc., right? So we need a specific place to keep our clothes, right? And usually we have wardrobes on the racks and so on and so on. So in JavaScript, imagine that you have to keep your data somewhere. You want to keep the data, and if you need, let's say, a specific dress or shoes or sneakers, you want to, hey, say you open your wardrobe and just simply open or take off your shoes or your favorite dress, right? So the same exact idea with variables. We can, or in JavaScript, we can create a special, let's say, storage or the place which will contain that data, right? So let's create a variable, and those variables contain whatever we want. So there are basically three ways how you can create the variables, or let's say declare the variables. Let's say this will be the first example, let variable or method num. Let's say let variable, and then equal sign, and then let's say defines a variable with the scope. So just ignore what we have inside. We will talk about it later during the main course. But as for right now, let's have a closer look on this construction. So in order to create a variable in JavaScript, we have to use the keyword. The first keyword that we will be learning today is let. Let, and then you have a name of the variable. The name of the variable is usually, you have to create such name that should briefly describe what kind of the value it has. So this is kind of not the best example so far, but let's say let garage, and then you can have cars, right? Let's say Ferrari, Mercedes, Audi, or whatever. It actually doesn't matter. So I have a variable. In this case, it's the name of the variable is garage, and inside I have certain values. And as you can see, those three values are car models, right? And I assume that the variable garage is somehow related to what I have inside. So the point, whenever you create a variable, try not to randomly give it a name, like variable 1 or 2 or whatever, but try to give a specific name which should describe what it has inside. Then we have equal sign. One equal sign in JavaScript means that we are going to assign something to something. But in this case, we are going to assign the variable, let variable, the value, which is defines a variable with restricted scope. So if you watch after me very carefully, I put this sentence defines a variable with restricted scope in quotes. So we will talk about it later on, but as for right now, just accept that on the right part, we have some sort of the value. Good? Questions, guys, regarding the let variable? Okay, I think it is no. So what the other keyword we may use in order to create a variable? The other one is const. So you can say const variable. So this one, a const keyword defines the variable which value cannot be verified. So just ignore what we have inside, but let's say that the same exact idea. We have the keyword const, then we have a name of the variable. The name of the variable can be whatever we want, but again, be specific, try to be specific, and then we have the value of this variable. So what's the difference between the let keyword and the const variable, const keyword? So as you may see, according to the definition, the const variable, we cannot change its value. So I want to check this theory. How do I check it? So in order to check something, I want to run or execute some code and to make sure that we can do something with our code. So in this example, we are going to, there is such a property which all variables have. Not all, but in this case, let's have a look how this variable will work. Let variable. So I will say let variable, and then say equals 1, right? And now I want to see what's the value of this variable. again, guys, the value is what I have after equal sign. This is my value. In this case, the value will be 1. So as for right now, I know that there are, or at the beginning, I had this value over here. Then I put this value, but what's the value of the let variable right now? Because for right now, I have no clue. How can I find it out, right? So in order to do this, I want to run, or I want to type a specific command which called console log. Console log will help you to execute something, and then you simply pass the value, and then as a result, you will see it in the right side screen over here. So in this case, I am going to simply put let variable inside the parentheses. So console.log, and then in parentheses, you will have the following value, let variable. And if I run it, I will see the following result. So the output is 1, right? So because this is my console log shows. But in real life, or once you start working, putting the value inside or inserting the value that you want to console log along is not enough, because in this case, it's very clear that I have only one variable, and the name of this variable is let variable. And imagine that I will have not one console log, but a lot of console logs, and I will be like, it's very easy to mess the things up, right? That's why I want to do the following thing. So you guys can just simply follow me. You put two quotes before the let variable, and you can say you can simply copy this value, right click, and then click copy, then paste it in the quotes. You can use either single or double quotes. Then what I like, I like putting an error, and then comma sign. Comma sign is very important, because if you omit the comma sign, the code will be won't be working. And as you can see, even GSBean, it underlines the value let variable. So it's very important to put the comma. Good. So right now, if I run my code, I see that let variable, the value of it is 1, right? So now I know that at the beginning, the value of the let variable was the following value, just some sort of the text. Then on the next line, I believe it was line number 4 or something, I said, okay, now I want to reassign the value of the let variable, or to set it to 1. And as you can see, once I use the console log, again, the console log helps you to have a look what the value of, for example, in this specific example, let variable is. Actually, I have a type, right? Let variable. Yeah, it still works. Good. So it helps me what to see, what the value I have inside the variable, let variable, right? So now let's try to do the same exact trick, but with const variable. Again, guys, if you have questions, feel free to ask your questions right away, because I don't see if you raise your hand or put something on the chat. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So how do variable types work in JavaScript? You changed let variable to 1, but is that 1 an integer, or does it turn into a string?
For right now, it can be wherever I want, but in this specific example is a number.
Okay, I see. Thank you. And
Yeah.
you don't have to create variable types when making variables in JavaScript, right?
No. So JavaScript, so answer for this question might be weird for some of you guys, since we just started, but don't be afraid. It's just an explanation for, So in JavaScript, since it's dynamical language, you don't have to declare its type, versus Java, when you have to say, okay, I'm going to create a string value, and that value will be this value. In JavaScript, you can create a variable and later on assign a value to it.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
If it makes sense. And the same exact code back to your question, will be working if I even remove this part. So here, as you can see, I declare the variable let variable, right? And as for right now, this variable doesn't have a value. Actually, it does, but let's not talk about it right now. So I just declare the variable. So, but let's say that in this specific moment, this variable doesn't have a value. So on the line 4, I assigned a value to this variable, right? And if I run my code now, you see that the same exact output, right? If it helps. So good. So now let's try to do the same exact thing, but with const variable. And I will say 2. Good. And then now I can simply copy my previous console and put it right here. So instead of the let variable, all I have to do is just copy here, paste this, select this text, paste, select this text, and paste. So I have const variable, and I want to know what I have inside my const variable. So clear, run, assignment to const variable. So that means that we are going to change the value of the const variable, meaning we are not allowed, or whenever we create a variable with the keyword const, we cannot change its value. So it's just a constant. This code will be working if I can actually put commands over here, 2 slashes, then I will disable this part of the code. And now if I click run, and everything will be working. So now I know that the const variable has the following value. Let variable has the following value. Good? Questions? No questions? Okay, let's proceed. So again, whenever you want to create the variable, you either use the let keyword or const keyword. What's the difference between those two? For the let variable, you can reassign its value. As for the const variable, you are not allowed to reassign its value. So let's just take a real life example. You are creating the database of users or whatever, and you want to create for each, whenever you create a user, you want to put his name, his address, or maybe email, social security. And for example, social security, this is something that cannot be changed, right? So this value in this specific example will be created, or the variable social security should be created with a const keyword, right? So, and again, as you may see in this specific, or if we talk about the JavaScript code is executed from left to right, up and down. Okay, good. Why it is so? I can actually even try to prove it. So what if for right now I put, or I will call my variables and then I will declare them. What will happen? Will this code work? No, it will not work. And because here I'm just saying, literally saying, hey, what's inside my variable, let variable? And for right now, JavaScript, or let's say the JS Bean, has no clue what's inside here because this variable hasn't been created yet. That's why I want to put it before the console log, or let's put it back. That's why the JavaScript code is executed from left to right, up and down. Good? Good. So now there is a third word which is barely used, to be honest with you guys, but sometimes you may see. So the var variable. What is var variable? Var variables works the same as let variable, but can be seen in older browser versions. Good. So before the let keyword is relatively, let's say, new thing if we compare it to the var, but before let people use the var. For right now, I may say that this keyword is barely used, but sometimes you may see it. So this is just an old legacy stuff which is belong to the JavaScript one. Just don't be afraid. It's pretty much works the same as let, and you can reassign its value. So do you have questions regarding the variables? No? Okay. So now let's talk about the data types. Since someone touched this topic, what's in GS. So there are eight data types in JavaScript. So, but as for today, I decided to talk about only the first three. So what are the first three? The first one is a string, the second one is a number, and the third one is a Boolean. So if you like super curious what's the other five are, undefined, null, object, symbol, and begin. Good. But as for today's lecture, let's talk about only the string, number, and the Boolean. So let's talk about the string first. String data type. So string data type, string, or some people call them strings or string. It's you can use whatever you like, but if we talk about the strings or string data type represent textual data which should be placed in single double quotes. So whenever you want to work, or whenever you're working with textual data, you want to put that data inside the single or double quotes. So the question for everybody, do you have, or do you see for right now on my screen any strings? And if yes, where are they?
In the variables and in the console log.
Exactly, yes. So those are the strings. How do you know? Because this is just a textual data. I can even put the numbers over here. Actually, it still will be considered to be a string. It actually doesn't matter. What important is I have the quotes. So again, you can use either single quotes or double quotes. But the only thing that I want you guys to follow, there is only one rule that I want you guys to follow, is consistency. Be consistent. If you decide to stick with single quotes, use single quotes. If you decide to use double quotes, use for every string, use double quotes. I mean, those kind of things, let's say here and here, and not appropriate. So here I use single quotes, here I use double quotes, here single quotes, here double quotes, again. Not good. Don't do it. Okay, let's come back to the strings. So how does the string look like? I'm going to create a simple variable. Let's say the greetings string or whatever. Actually, we'll say hello everyone. Hello everyone. An exclamation point. Actually, if you guys are looking very carefully, I put semicolon and the end of each statement. It's called the semicolon, or this character or this symbol is called semicolon, meaning, so here for this in JavaScript, it means that, okay, I'm done with this specific line of the code. So basically, from this point, I'm going, or once I put it, I have to move to the next line, start from the new line. Here, finish this statement or finish creating this variable const, put semicolon, now I'm ready for the next statement, and so on and so on. So, but if you ask me, are those semicolons unnecessary? It actually depends. Most people, some people, I know that some people are not using them at all, but some people use them. I personally prefer to use them. It's a very good thing to follow or to do. Good, now let's come back to our example. Let greeting string, and then it has a value, hello everyone. So what we want to do here now, how do I know what's the inside the following variable? What should I do? What should I type in order to get the value? Come on, guys.
Is it the const variable?
Const variable? No, not exactly. So I want to know what's inside the variable greetings string. What should I type in order to see on the right side in my console the value? What should I type in order to see the following value?
Console log and name of variable.
Exactly, yeah, good job. So here I will simply type console log, the same exact trick that we did before. So console log will help me to get the value of something. So in this specific example, all I'm going to do is just to copy it, paste it, and then put comma sign and put it here. So let's see. Now I can click on the run. Once I click, by the way, actually I forgot to mention it. Once I click on the run button, I will start executing my code. So here you see the greeting string says hello everyone. Good, but okay, good. So this is a string. As I mentioned before, a string represents textual data which should be placed in either single or double quotes, right? But now I want to prove that in this specific example, we are working with a string. And now if you want to make sure that you are working with string, there is a specific command which is called type of. And then all you have to do, let me just simply copy it and paste it over here. So I can say, what's the data type of greeting string, right? So all you have to do is just to type of. So type of one word, and then you put a space, and then you have the value. So this command or this keyword, it's inbuilt in JavaScript, or this command will show you what kind of the data type you're working with. So let's see if we run. So what's the data type of the greeting strings? It's a string. Now I'm 100% sure that the following value of the greeting string is a string, because I can see the quotes and it's textual data enclosed in quotes, and I can even use the command type of, which actually will help me to know what the data type of is it. So later on, maybe if you ask me from, like, let's say a real life example, let's say that you are working with login page or something, and you want to make sure that the client uses only strings. That means, the string values or numbers, or let's talk about actually numbers. How does it work with numbers? So the second data type that we will be working will be numbers. Represents numeric data, can be decimal, rule as well. So let's talk about the numbers. Numbers are very easy. So let's say let age equals 25. So what's the difference between this value over here and this value? So this value is enclosed in single quotes, while this value is just a number, 25, right? And it doesn't have a quotes. So now let's have a look what I have inside. So here, instead of this value, I will just put the age over here, age. I will say what the value of the age, and here we'll put age. So as you can see, I highly encourage you to use copy and paste hotkeys for the copy and paste. Those are, if you're using the Windows, it's Control-C and Control-V. If you're using the Mac, it's Command-C and then Command-V. This is how easy you can work with the text. Good. Now, if I run my code right now, you will see what the data type h, the variable h has the following value, which is 25. Now, the type of the h is a number. So imagine that you are working in the bank and you have to make up, or the user has to make up a PIN code, and the type of the PIN code has to be a number, and you can simply check, create such a check. If the type of the PIN code equals number, then it's good to go. Otherwise, try again or something like this. So this is the logic that you will be using in order to create something yeah, to my example. Sorry, guys. Good. So the question is, what should I do with the following number in order to convert it to the string? I can simply put quotes over here. Now, what will happen, or what will I see on the following line, or what will the following console log will display? What's the data type I will have?
String.
String, exactly, because I added the quotes, and then let's just make sure, and now it's a string. So whenever you work with numbers, make sure that you don't have any strings in it. And by the way, just for the reference, this is how the decimal number look like, 25.3. So if you want to put or add a decimal, you have to add a comma, point over there, dot sign, sorry. Good. Questions? Good. I believe those kind of things were pretty straightforward. Let's talk about the Booleans. So Boolean can be the Boolean values, if we compare it to the strings, there you can create different strings, different numbers, or whatever. But if we talk about the Boolean data type, the Boolean data type can have only two conditions. It can be either true or false. There are no other cases if we talk about the Boolean. So when do we need the Boolean values? For example, turn something on, turn something off, allow something, disallow something, or ban something, or whatever. So for those kind of things, we will use a Boolean values. So I like this example. Let's say let older, let's say then 21 equals true. And then that younger means false. Good. So now let's see what I have inside. So once again, console log older than 21. We'll have, I will put it right here, and the value will be over here, and then the same exact thing for younger. Okay, here simply copy this guy, copy, then paste it here. Younger, put it here and here. So if I run my code, you will see that the value of the following value is true and false. How do I check the data type of the variable that's a younger? What should I do? Guys, how do I know the data type of the variable younger? What should I do with my code?
To write console log, type of, and name variable.
Let's try it. Type type of, you said, right? And then the name of the variable. Okay. And here I can see from a message, And if I run it, you will see that this is the Boolean value. Again, the real life example, if you are older than 21, you are welcome. If you are not, if you are younger than 21, you are not allowed to drink or something. So this is something that where the Booleans can be used. So do you have questions regarding those data types that we studied today? Numbers, strings, Boolean? No? Everything is clear? Okay, I take it as yes, so let's proceed. So now, let's talk about the functions. So functions in JavaScript. Yeah, if we go to the, for example, I like this example, the google.com, you see the buttons over here, the input field over here, where you can search for something, where you can click on the elements. So imagine that every single action which will be done on this page is related to the topic functions. So whenever we start typing something, we start the function. Whenever we click on something, the Google search, we start another function. Whenever you click on the I'm feeling lucky, you start or you trigger another function, and so on and so on. So any action is related to the function. So why it is so important, or why the function is so important? Let's say that you have a function that you have to look for something, and then you go to the next web page, and the next web page should have the same exact button, the Google search or something, right? So that you don't want to write or rewrite the whole thing again, the whole function again, you may use the previously created functions. So we can say that the functions is the block of the code which can be reused. Okay, if that makes sense to you guys. Okay, now let's talk about the functions or the functions definition. So the function, let me put this line over here. Again, I am going to talk about the function definition. How does it look like? We have to create or use the keyword function. Then we have to put the name of the function. Then we have to put a parameter. Or parameters, it actually depends. And then you put curly brackets. In the curly brackets, you put your code. And now let's have a closer look on it. So name is the name of the function. Then what else you have? Parameters. Parameters. Let's say parameters. If the function may include 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 parameters, or not 6, 7, 8, so as many as you want, up to 256 if you want to be specific. So parameters, that thing is actually optional. And sometimes functions may not include parameters. Sometimes functions may include parameters. So what's important about the parameters? So enclosed in parentheses and separated by commas. So imagine that if we have not one parameter, but A, B, C, D, or whatever, I mean, we can pass as many parameters as we want sometimes, but the parameter itself is not important, it's optional. We have to mention it as well. Good. So now let's talk about the code. And the last thing, which is actually, I put it over here. This is the code. The code, oh, sorry, back. The code that defines the function. enclosed in so whatever we put inside those curly brackets will be considered or will be defined as our code. So I know, guys, for right now, maybe it may sound very complicated for some of you, but I prepared some simple examples where where we can practice with the functions. So let's say that we have to practice create a function which should calculate the area of the square, right? So according to the task, or let's say task 1, according to the task, we have to create a such function which should calculate the area of the square, right? So, well, let's try to do this exercise. So what should I type? I should type the keyword function, right? Then I should give the function a name. So what do you think? What name should I give to this function? Guys, let me ask. Oksana, what do you think? What the name of the function should be?
I think square.
Square. But according to the task, I have to create function which calculate the area of the square, right? But I think the square itself.
Oh, okay.
Square
Maybe sides.
sides. Not exactly. Not exactly. I want to underline the word area, right? The area is something that we want to calculate. That's why I think, personally, that the best name will be square area,
Okay.
right? Are you agree with me, Oksana?
Mhm.
Because our function will calculate the area of the square, and
Or
the
you
function.
can put, for example, area square of size, right? Or no, or just the area.
Square area.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good. That's okay. So now, according to our definition, or let's say function definition, what should I put next? So let me actually ask Taras. Taras, what do you think?
Brackets and parameters.
Okay, parentheses and then the parameters, right? So how many sides do I need in order to calculate the square area?
How many sides?
Yeah, how many sides do I need?
2 sides.
You sure?
Do you want to multiplicate them?
Okay, square area. Let's say that we forgot the mass. Now let's have a look on this image over here. This is a square, right? And how many sides do I need in order to calculate the area of the square?
Oh, you mean a square, like each side the same? Okay, you need just one.
Just one, right? So that's why we want to pass only one side, and I mean the parameter. And actually, in this case, guys, and actually it doesn't matter how we're going to call this side. We can call it side, we can call it, for example, span, we can call it Oksana, we can call it Taras. There will be no difference for us. So just for this example, I will call it side. Then we have to put curly bracket. So now, how do I calculate the area of the square? Some help here? Tanya, maybe you?
I'm not sure yet.
Not sure yet? Okay, what if we open this formula over here? So basically we have to square the side, right? In order to get the area according to this formula, right? Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, good. So what we have to type here, we have to multiplicate side by side, right? In order to get the answer. But as for right now, you see something is missing, right? And whenever we talk about these functions, if we want to return the result, or we are doing some sort of the operation and we want to return the result of that operation, or in functions, there is such keyword as return. So you just simply type return and then the statement side by side. So now, if I run my code, you won't be seeing the result, right? Why it is so? Because we haven't called our function. And in order to see that the result of this operation, we have to use what? What should we use in order to see it on the right side? Maybe Katerina, what do you think?
Console log.
Console log, exactly, yeah. So we are going to use the console log. So here I can say square area, or let's put more detailed message, or the area of the square is. Then there is a rule over here. I want to put the name of the function. You know, if I run it right now, you see that you just simply see the function itself, right? But this is something that we don't want to see, right? We want to see the result. So here in console log, there is a trick. You want to pass the value. For example, if I pass the value 3, what's the expected result would be in this case? Sabina, maybe you. Sabina, do you know? Okay, let me ask Eli.
What's the question?
So if I pass, or if the parameter will be 3, what the output will be for this function?
Should be the area of a square is 9.
9, right? So let's just try. Here you go. The area of the square is 9. Yeah, it works. So if we change it to something else, let's say to 5, and let's run, the output should be 25, right? Now, as you can see, this is how functions work. And once I created this function, I can use it. I don't need to calculate it every time. All I need to do is just simply change its value in console log. For example, I want to say send 50, right? Let's see how it works. 250, right? Then I can set it to 100, and then I will run it, and as a result, I will get the following result. So once I created the function, I can reuse it as many times as I want. Does it make sense to you guys? Okay, I hope it does. Now, let's do one more example. So in another example, create a function called, let's say, greetings, which should, let's say, which should say hello. I put it in quotes. Hello. Oh, sorry, that. Hello, and then name. Your name. Okay, your name. Good. So let's get started. I want to use a keyword function, right? So the function. Then I should give a name. What the name should be for this function? Let me actually ask. Victoria, what do you think? What the name of this function should be? Okay, let me ask Jacob then.
Hello, your name?
Not exactly. Not exactly.
Would it be greetings?
Exactly, yeah, the greetings, because let's read the task again. Create a function called greetings. That's why we want to call our function greetings. We just follow the description, so the greetings. Then we have a parameter. And then just advice for you, whenever you work with functions, just try to stick with syntaxes, meaning if you put the parentheses, put the square curly brackets right away. Won't hurt you anyway. The reason why we want to do this is just because, let's say that you created your function, you put the parentheses, and then you put opening curly bracket, and then you run your code and something is not working. So apparently you forgot to close your function. So that's why if you open something, or if you put an opening and parentheses, you want to close it right away. Okay, good. So the question for everybody, do we need a parameter in this case or not? Yes, why? No, why?
I mean, that depends like what you want to do. If you want to like output like hello and name, you need to have a parameter for name. But that's it.
Yep. So that's why we want to pass a parameter, right? So how do we call this parameter? Let me actually ask Sergey. Sergey, what do you think? What's the best name for this parameter? Okay, well, Sergey is thinking, maybe I should ask someone else. Taras, what do you think?
Your name.
Your name, right? Or the name, right? Will be the same. Your name, or let's put your name. Your name. Good. Then now we have a parameter. Now, what should we do, or what should we put in our function? So we want to return something. So we want to return, and then what should I put here after the return statement? Hello, then your name. I should be putting the keyword or the string hello. Then I should put your name, right? Our parameter, actually, your name. But if I simply put it like this, you will see that there is an error over here. Something is not working. So here we have to use one tiny trick that you are not, for right now, not familiar with. It's called, we have to put a plus sign. So basically, we are going to merge the string with the variable. And then, as a result, we will get the string. Let me show you how it works. So console log here. So greetings. Good. Here, I should put the name of the function. Then it's very important to put the parameter in here. So here, I want to say hello Stan, for example, right? So let's run it. And as you can see, now I have an output hello Stan. But there is a mistake over here. There is no space between the word hello and Stan. What should I do in order to see that space, guys? Do you have any clues?
Hello plus space plus your name.
Okay, hello plus you said space, right? Like this, right? And
Right.
then plus one. Okay, let's see. Click run. Yay, it works. Good job. So let's try it with
Sorry,
your name.
Can we edit space after hello?
Yeah, that should work as well. So if we add space over here right after the hello, it should also work. So hello Stan, and yeah, as you can see, it works. Good job. Good. So now let's try it with different names. Maybe with your names. So let's try Tanya. Let's try with Sana, and then let's try with Eli. So if you run it, you'll see hello Stan, hello Tanya, hello Oksana, hello Roy. So it works for every single name. And I call this success. So as for the homework, I prepared some exercises for you guys. You basically have to create different functions, and then based on the description, you want to create a function. So I will share it with you later today, or actually once this lesson is over. And all you have to do is the same exact idea. I will drop here a bin link. So actually, I'm going to share today's classwork with you. All you have to do is just to click on the file and then click on the save snapshot. And then you should click on the share button and you copy this link right here and paste it right here over here, and you're good to go. So this will be your classwork. I will drop the same exact GS bin, but with your homework. And if you click on this link over here, you will be redirected to the classwork GS bin, where you can find everything what we studied today. So guys, I hope you enjoyed my class. Hope you completed all your homeworks, and good luck with the next part, which will be automation, I believe so. And you will have some fun over there. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask your questions before we wrap up.
Yeah, I have a question.
Mhm.
So the name of parameters just return, or just you have any different, or it's just a one?
So assume your question was about this name, right? Or this is because those are the
Yes.
parameters.
Yes, it's a function area.
Exactly. So we can call our functions whatever, or the parameters, whatever we like. I can call it even Stan over here. It doesn't matter. But if you change it here, make sure that you change it here as well. So we don't care how we call them. The reason for that is it's just a parameter, and you are the one who are creating that parameter.
Okay,
And that parameter.
Yeah, I'm talking about, for example, you just give a name function and return, right? So is it any different name for this two, function and return, or
Function.
Yes.
Those two words, function itself, it actually tells that we are going to create the block of the code. Okay, this is what keyword function does.
Right.
If we talk about the return statement, it serves to do one single operation: return the result. So return the following output. What the output will be for the following for the following code, and that return may be even omitted. Sometimes there are cases, not always, but there will be cases where you won't be using that return statement at all. But in this specific example, you need to use the return statement.
Okay, thank you so much.
So return statement or return keyword is not mandatory. It's optional, and it depends on the case.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, guys?
Yes. I didn't understand the difference between let, const, and var.
So let's come back to this part. The let keyword helps you. They all do. Let's talk about what's in common. They all serve, or they're all being used in order to create the variable. What is variable? Variable is a container, the box, which can store whatever we want. As you can see, in this case, it stores the string. In this case, it stores the number. In this case, it contains the Boolean value, right? So, but what's the difference between those values? The let keyword and the var keyword, they are creating the variables, just the regular variables, and we can later on reassign those variables. For example, if you remember it, I show you, right? this beginning, I can reassign the following value to, let's say, 12. And now, if I call it, or actually, I don't even want to run it. So dismiss it, clear, and run. You will see that the let variable is now 12. It's no longer, it doesn't contain this value anymore. Do you see it? This property is called reassign. That means that I'm going to reassign the value of the let variable over here. But if we compare it again against the const variable and try to do the same exact trick with const, you will see a mistake. You cannot reassign, or you cannot change the value of the variable which was created with the keyword const. So as you can see, this is const, this is let. I can change the following value, but I am not allowed to change the following value over here, which you see on the line 1, 2, 3, 4, on the fourth line. Does it make sense now?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Feel free to ask any questions. Maybe you have a project-related course, or maybe you have questions regarding the curriculum or the topics that we actually, the topics that we are going to work with, or I don't know, any other questions? No? Okay. Okay. I take it as no. So if you don't have any questions, I wish you good. I wish you a good night. If it's a night right now in California, so good night. Have a good rest of your day. I hope you enjoy my classes. Feel free to ask me any questions in the Slack, and I will create a JS bean with the homework right after this presentation. So thank you again for finding the time and attending this lecture. I'll see you, hopefully I will see you once we start our JS module. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.